Happy holidays, Aspire Leaders. I wanted to jump on here real quick before I start the conversation with this awesome bonus episode with my friend Mitch Weathers, the creator of Organized Binder. I just want to let you know that EduMatch has their Leadership Holiday Bundle once again available to you. 2 awesome books, one great price. It's the Educulture Cookbook by my wonderful friend Mike Earnshaw, and of course my book Aspire to Lead at a discounted price of $30 for the 2 books. So head over to edumatch.com. I'll have the specific link in the show notes for you to grab your holiday bundle. We haven't done it for a couple years, but Sarah Thomas was gracious enough to allow us to make sure that we have this bundle available to you to save some money and allow you to get some leadership resources in your hands. So super excited about this. Let's jump into the conversation with Mitch Weathers, as we're going to be talking about executive functioning, but specifically to teachers and how they can use this in their own life, especially during the stressful time of the holiday season. Welcome back, everyone, to Aspire to Lead, where we will be discussing the visions, inspirations, and experiences from top educational leaders. My name is Joshua Stamper, and you can connect with me on Twitter or on Instagram at Joshua_Stamper. All right, welcome back, Aspire Leaders, to this bonus episode with Mitch Weathers. This is a conversation that we have every month. So if this is the first time you're tuning in, either on YouTube or on your podcast player, please make sure you go back. We have so many different conversations, Mitch and I, on executive functioning. And he has a phenomenal best-selling book. I'm going to hold it up. Hopefully it's not too glossy for those who are watching on YouTube, as the bright Colorado sun is hitting it. Executive Functioning for Every Classroom is the book. Highly recommend it. And with that, Mitch, thanks so much for joining me once again this month.
Always a pleasure and super fun to chat with you, Josh. Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh.
I'm glad to hear the sun shining in Colorado a little bit for you. It's pouring rain in California right now. So we switched. We
have just a little bit of snow just hanging on the ground. And I'm just hoping that for the holiday season, we have some. For those who are watching on YouTube, yes, this is my Vikings holiday ugly sweater. I don't think it looks very ugly. I think it looks quite lovely with the purple and gold. So anyways, buddy, I want to touch on something before we dive into the conversation. And you have something exciting happening in January called the Thriving Educators Summit. You had this launch last year. I had the honor and privilege of being a part of that first event, but you've got another event happening this year. Proud to say that Charlie Peck and I are going to be co-presenting for the summit, but we just share with the listeners just as far as like what this was about, why you constructed it, and what they can tune into.
Yep. And I'm super honored that you and Charlie this year, you returning, Charlie coming back. So everybody, if you're listening, head over to thrivingeducatorsummit.com. thrivingeducatorsummit.com. I'm sure it'll be dropped in the show. And here's the backstory. When there was a time last year, probably in November, December, sometime in the fall of last year. So around this time, and I had this weird epiphany, Josh, where I was like, oh my gosh, in March of 2024, we'll have been 4 years since everything shut down globally, but let's just say in education, when schools like closed, and we just entered this time. And I just thought, I don't know where this came from, but I just thought, I don't think the word thriving is what anyone would apply to the state of education the last 4 years. No. And it's time to thrive again and figure out, I think a lot of us expected or just assumed that the impact or the influence of the pandemic would subside over time. And I don't think we need to hide behind that or make an excuse. The pandemic is past. But what I think we're seeing is that wherever you were as a student and a teacher for that matter, during that time, whether it be first grade or ninth grade or college or kinder or whatever, it left an indelible imprint or impact that's not necessarily going to go away. And we need to kind of UDL that each year. I mean, teachers really have to be mindful of who's in the room. And this cohort as a 6th grade teacher might be very different than any other cohort you've had if in 2020 they were in 2nd grade, you're just now getting them. So I just decided I'm going to 2 parts. One, I want to put together this summit. I wanted it to be completely free, which means I had to ask friends and colleagues to donate their time and expertise. I didn't want it on a school day. I wanted it accessible. And I get that a Saturday may or may not work. And the way I thought of it is like, even if you're your kid's soccer game, put an earbud in, have your phone even in your pocket if you're just getting the audio and listen to some of the, like, I think some of the foremost leaders talking about what's leaders, not just school leaders, but in education, talking about what matters and let's thrive. So last year we put together, as well as everything I just said, everybody, yourself included, who helped me with my book, both in just pre-reading, writing endorsements, Patrice doing the forward, as a thank you, and really trying to highlight everyone else's work. And it was just well received, really, really well received, really well attended. And we left it live all year. And we've had districts writing in saying we have no PD budget. And this has literally been what we've gone back to throughout the year, which I'm just so happy. So this year it's happening on the 18th. Same thing. It's 2 hours. They're 15-minute sessions. Almost all of them live. One can't be. And it's like a star-studded lineup, you and Charlie included. So I am your wonderful and talented host, but that's the only role I play, which is really kind of fun. But we have some incredible sessions. I mean, I really think this year's summit's going to be powerful. So
awesome. Well, like you said, it's free. I've been putting the link up on the banner here. So thrivingeducatorsummit.com. So make sure that you're heading over to that link. I'll have it in the show notes, like Mitch said, for easy access. Click and sign up. And then, make sure, for those who are signing up, you share it with other educators, as it's not going to cost anything. And you're going to get a ton of resources and insight from, for sure. So honored, buddy. Thank you so much for the invite. Charlie and I are super excited to discuss the language of behavior on that. And Mitch, let's transition over to our topic, because, with these bonus episodes, we're going to try and keep it to like 15, 20 minutes. So Executive Functioning for Every Classroom is your book. Now, I don't know about you, but I've seen plenty of times on social media, or even just having coaching conversations with educators about just how they're struggling right now, their mental health, and some strategies to kind of get through this crazy stressful time. As we know, the holidays is not easy, and a lot of people are looking toward the break. But I want to know about executive functioning for every teacher. Is that a thing? Are there some things that they can do specifically in that umbrella of executive functioning to kind of help them through this stressful time?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think not just this stressful time, you're right. This time of year, everybody, I don't care who you are, you're looking to the next 2 to 3 weeks. There's just no doubt, and that comes on the heels of October, which towards the end of October is a complete grind, just like that, February, March, there's these kind of tried and true, got to make it through this time. And I would say kind of any time, Josh, because one of the truths that I've found is that it's not uncommon for teachers to struggle with executive dysfunction themselves. Certainly not everybody, but what can happen in that scenario is if a teacher struggles with executive dysfunction, it can exacerbate the issues for students in the class, which can then lead to behaviors that, all of that. Then I have management issues, and that's just more of a grind for the teacher. And so finding teachers who maybe lack a predictable learning environment, a predictable routine, and recognizing, and we've all experienced this as educators, you go to some type of professional learning experience, and even if it's fantastic, if it requires me to either completely reconfigure what I do or find time to design something new, the truth is, especially with the time crunch with teachers, it's just less likely to be implemented. So a big thing I'm passionate about with my work is saying, like, here is the evidence and the research and the data around executive functioning. And I don't believe that executive functions are taught in the traditional sense, which is a great thing because it's therefore not something else for teachers to do. But these skills are best learned when students see them clearly modeled and they get practice. And the kind of the thesis or the crux of my work is, if I can implement a predictable routine, and by virtue of participating in that routine, students get practice with these skills, then it's kind of a win-win because it's a more predictable environment. And as a teacher, what that means, and I love supporting brand new teachers or pre-service teachers, because it's like, here, Here's this routine. Now, can you modify it and adjust it in time? Sure. But you don't have to create anything. You don't have to reconfigure. This is how you're going to begin, how we're going to transition, how we conclude, where we put our stuff. Just a very basic but predictable routine. And here's the thing, when we talk about teachers, the modeling piece, you always have to, like, if you're going to subscribe to what I call the 3 keys for equipping students with executive functioning skills, clarity is first, modeling is second, and then routine. Well, that modeling piece is really important because I want students to see it. But what that means is the teacher is actually kind of participating in the routine as well. So guess what they're getting practice with? They're getting practice with time and task management. They're getting practice with organization, like all of those same things. And that just basic structure can really, it reduces cognitive load for teachers. Now, not all teachers, some just have that, but for those that, like, in the grind, in the struggle, like, having that in place, and it's just something I rely on and I do every day, and I have this byproduct of these skills that they're developing, it kind of is a win-win.
I was kind of going through my head and reflecting because, the work that myself and Charlie are doing, we're trying to implement behavior strategies and, communication and how to work with students. And some of that is the emotional regulation piece. But some of our teachers don't even have the strategies personally to regulate their emotions to then model and do that with their students. And I'm curious, like with your book, I know it says executive functioning for every classroom, but
Right.
for our teachers who haven't had experience with this at a younger age, as adults, maybe don't even possess these skills, would the book help them as far as maybe you're trying to implement that in their own life prior to then modeling to their students?
Absolutely. And that's why it doesn't say executive functioning for every student, because in the classroom, it's everybody. Because when Paul Teff says it best, if we can shape the environment in ways that lead to better executive functioning, which to me is like, there it is. He doesn't say, teach this really well to lead to, no, I'm going to shape the environment. So then by being in the environment, if it's leading to better executive functioning, and that's just an over time thing. And so there's no question for teachers being reflective on all before they roll it out. That's a good question. Like, what's it look like? It's that same thing. It's a kind of metacognitive process. Like, how would I take this and shape my environment? Because if I teach 5th grade or I teach 3rd grade or I teach 9th grade, it's different. Maybe even the subject or the context. So getting those systems in place, this routine and modeling, doing that ahead, it takes practice on the teacher's part. And with those structures in place, here's the thing, when you talk about language of behavior and self-regulation and self-monitoring and everything going on there, trying to do that in chaos for adults or young people it's so hard. And if a teacher, if their environment tends towards a little bit more chaotic as opposed to structure, and I don't mean structure in some authoritarian way, but I mean in terms of predictability and organization, it just fans that flame of classroom management issues. We've all seen that. So yeah, being reflective on it and rolling it out matters. Trying to do anything in chaos is challenging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I've experienced that firsthand as a teacher and having to kind of learn through that. And, I really wish I had something like your resource, prior to kind of identify those areas to then make myself a better teacher. So I'm just so excited about, the book that you have out for folks to have that. And regardless of where you are in your teaching career, I think it's just good for you, both personally as an individual, but then like you said, it's for every classroom and it's for everyone under that umbrella to help them with these skills.
Everyone in that environment. And I mentioned this, it's not my phrase, my dear friend Jazz Amparfar, which check her out if you're,
she's amazing.
Her keynote's fantastic. She has a great expression, I think, to help keep in mind, like she says, chaos navigators, that many of our young people, many of our students are just navigating life outside of school in chaos, and not their fault. Could be family, could be poverty, could be, there's all these hosts of things. And if we keep that front and center, the more predictable I can make the environment, then I can kind of depend on that, the less chaotic it feels, right? But if I'm just coming back into this space again and it doesn't feel predictable. It feels more chaotic. I'm going to stay in that low level fight or flight. I'm less likely to self-monitor and self-regulate. There's a cognitive load to that. I have less mental calories available. I mean, all of it's wrapped up in this idea of creating safer and more predictable learning environments. And so that work, again, clarity, routine, and modeling, it's helping teachers and students for sure. And all students for that matter, because it's a tier one. Like a great conversation with a special ed director in Arizona. We have a county project going on. And she said, one of my favorite things when I visit schools that are participating in the organized binder rollout, in those classrooms, it's 100% inclusive because everybody has an organized. You can make you could make assumptions, not predictions, assumptions about who's in the room, but you can't tell. We're all doing this together through routine. And again, as a byproduct of participating in this routine, I get practice with these executive functioning skills, and I'm seeing them modeled. One of the things that happens when you implement these three keys, or I'll just say implement organized binder, is that students create a course long, whether that be a semester or a year-long course, portfolio of it's an evidence binder or a data binder of their learning and their effort from the first day until the last day. There's a school we work with out here in California that was great, called it the crown jewel. Like, here's this like trophy of sorts. And because it's a byproduct of the routine, it's not grade dependent. So it's not like, oh, kids that have A's and maybe B's and have some organizational skills or whatever, create this portfolio. It's like, no, everybody's doing it, regardless of where you are with the content, which is an important part of the book and my work too, like giving kids practice with this, but opportunities to be successful within a learning environment that aren't tied to content. Right. Because if I'm struggling with the content, I might have a certain narrative in my head. So there's a whole lot we could unpack there. This course long portfolio, well, there's always a class model. So guess who also is completely curating their curriculum for the entire school year? And that means every lesson has a prompt, because we always begin with retrieval and flexing our working memory. We go to the agenda, which is just a snapshot of what we're doing. So here's what we did. Do you have any next steps or homework? We get organized real quick with our table of contents and toolkit. So for every lesson of the school year, I have a beginning and concluding prompt. I have a snapshot of what we did, and I have this ongoing organization. That's a great tool to start the following year with. And it's really cool in subject area and grade level collaboration when everybody has their sample. When we come together the next year, okay, how are we going to do this unit and PLCs? There's a lot to discuss about how it impacts teachers.
Well, buddy, you had talked about the environment, and Charlie and I had just added this quote. I'm going to say it real quick that ties in. It says, children are the products of an environment over which they have no real control, passengers through narrow pathways in a world they never made. And it just shows you the power of what the teacher has and what they're constructing for that environment of success.
That's a great quote.
Yeah. With that, buddy, I want to touch on real quick. I know we're trying to end this. I saw on social media, and I would love for you to share out real quick. EdWeb, yeah. EdWeb, you had posted something this about week. You being a guest on EdWeb.
Yeah, I've been invited to a webinar, and it's really kind of a conversation. And it is this Thursday at 1 p.m. It's this really interesting thing. So EdWeb is like this very large webinar education platform. And I think as of this morning, we just had a tech check before you and I met, and there's already like 1,800 people signed up. They let 1,200 in, 1,000 by video, 200 by phone. And of course, this week it's going to fill up some more. So it's free. My co-presenter, if you will, is a woman named Amanda Morin, Amanda Morin is like, she's just published her 6th book. She's amazing. So we're going to be, of course, discussing executive functioning, but with EdWeb, you have a sponsor. So I was just invited. This wasn't anything. There's an organization called Digital Promise based in DC. They're sponsoring it. And Jessica Jackson of Digital Promise, who's fantastic, is our host. So EdWeb hosts it, but she's the actual host, I guess you would say. and Amanda and I are the speakers. It's more of a conversation, and we're looking at learner variability in executive functions. So what does that mean? Amanda has a new book that just dropped that's on that topic. So yeah, everybody, if you can, you did, you put the link there, or you just go to EdWeb, it'll be there. I'm so honored. This is the last one of the year. According to everybody, it's quite popular in terms of signups. I don't know what's normal for
based on that number. Good night. That's a lot
right.
of folks.
When they said they get most of their signups the week before, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I hope people join. If you can get in, it will be a really fun and totally unscripted, which I prefer those conversations like you and I do. I don't know what you're going to ask me, and we just talk.
You never know what you're going to get with us. So
right.
Just for folks,
quality. That's what you can count on.
On the top of our heads, quality. All right, y'all. So yeah, I'll have the website's link in the show notes. I'm guessing that's free also.
It is. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So make sure that you're signed up for that. We have a ton of free resources for you. For those who want to connect with Mitch, organizedbinder.com is the link, which for those who are watching on YouTube, you've been seeing that link pop up throughout our conversation. As always, buddy, I just love talking with you. I love the knowledge and the wisdom that you provide to this show. I'm so honored that I get to speak with you monthly on the Aspire to Lead podcast. And I just appreciate you so much and looking forward to those free resources coming up.
Me too, man. Thanks, Josh. I'll see you next month.
Yes, can't wait.
This podcast is a proud member of the Teach Better Podcast Network. Better today, better tomorrow, and the podcast to get you there. Explore more podcasts at teachbetter.com/podcasts, and we'll see you at the next episode.